Spellbreak could finally be the game to break the Battle Royale mold and take over in 2019. Fortnite and PUBG have spent the past year being so dominant over both the PC and console market that it's a damn near miracle that the casual consumer remembers that other video games even exist. And shockingly, might actually be good. But there's a storm coming. There's a gap being created, and a new wave of games are looking to fill it. Fortnite has, as I've mentioned before on this channel, reached critical mass, and PUBG reached its own popularity peak. The bubble is bursting, and it's time for fresh blood to darken the waters. Enter games like Radical Heights, a game from the Gears of War creator Cliff Bleszinski, an incredible 80s themed... No, I'm just kidding. That shit was awful. Enter Spellbreak, a new kind of battle royale. A battle royale that doesn't attempt to emulate and replicate, but instead attempts to carve its own path in a saturated market. No, this is not a sponsored video. Spellbreak is just worth talking about. Spellbreak is radically different than any other battle royale game on the market. This is not Battle Right. This is really something special and really something different. This is a game that's going to change the face of at least what you think of battle royale, especially coming from indie developers. Spellbreak is going to be something brand new. And so today we're going to look at exactly what it is, exactly what it does differently, and more importantly, exactly why it's important for the market in general. So to get started, let's just take a look at what Spellbreak is at its very core. Spellbreak is what you would get if Fortnite hooked up with Dragon Age and made a really angry Harry Potter looking child. And I mean that as the sincerest compliment I can give. It starts with the art style, where Blackout and Fortnite are both built on engines that already existed, and neither are built to be lookers by any sense of the word. Spellbreak in its current closed pre-alpha state is gorgeous. Spellbreak is slightly cartoony in aesthetic design, much like Fortnite, but this game takes its fidelity to another level. The game is gorgeously detailed with wonderful lighting and incredible effects work as spells go flying all over the battlefield, which is important because Spellbreak is a magic-based battle royale. Here, you won't be mowing down your enemies with rocket launchers. Instead, you'll be doing so with spell-casting gauntlets. And these aren't simply a replacement word for gun. Spellbreak turns the battle royale genre on its head by forcing you to think like you would in a Pokemon game, in split-second, moment-to-moment action. To be the last one standing here, you'll have to have a deep understanding of elemental weaknesses, how certain magic elements pair with other magical elements, and how to quickly combine your attacks on the battlefield, which, by the way, is a really cool pseudo-medieval setting. For example, want to devastate an enemy shrouded in poison in quick fashion? Light the poison on fire. This takes Spellbreak from a traditional Twitch battle royale shooter, much like everything else on the market, and turns it into a far more interesting rock, paper, scissors battle of quick wit. Honestly, some matches of Spellbreak look like the final fight at Hogwarts, and you actually get to live it. But what makes Spellbreak more interesting is the things that the game does to further separate itself from things like Fortnite and PUBG. The things that just might finally give Battle Royale a real chance to shine in an esports setting.
They are not the eternal prisons they were once thought. Things can get out of a black hole, both to the outside, and possibly to another universe.
Spellbreak is probably not going to have quite as quick of a learning curve as something like PUBG does. The game asks a lot from you, and in turn, should not only separate itself from the pack, but also make itself a bit more competitive as a result. Yes, there are still potions, and yes, the goal is to still be one of the last ones standing, but there's far more between the lines. In Spellbreak, your gauntlets can be attached to 11 different classes. These classes relate to the elements wind, fire, and so on. These classes immediately create a new layer of strategy. You have defined weaknesses and strengths. Sure, you may be able to lob boulders, but you also have to deal with a passive secondary ability, as well as a loadout of scrolls that you're meant to upgrade and essentially kind of level throughout the course of a match. This is all to say that Spellbreak lends itself far closer to being a real battle royale RPG than just a hop-in, hop-out battle royale game. The game skews further away from the luck of loot drops and closer to the skill of players and strategy of loadouts, and for most people, that's going to be a great thing. It also changes the way you engage with the battlefield. In most battle royale games currently on the market, your engagement both as an aggressor and a victim is going to come from relatively straightforward projectile weaponry. In Spellbreak, things are a little different. Most of your spells are going to require different things from your skill and understanding of the game. Want to toss a boulder? Okay, better get used to its range and trajectory. Want to hit your enemy on the very ground they stand on? There are spells that run across the ground like Frozone. Spellbreak is a game where you never know how or where the next threat will come from, and it makes one-on-one battles an exhilarating rush of sparks and flames that looks like this. This is one of the most watchable battle royales you will ever see. But what Spellbreak is already getting right, well before its official full public release, the one thing we know for sure might also be its most important asset. When Cliffy B and Boss Key Games tried to hop on the Battle Royale hype train to make a quick buck, they were a relatively big company that was out of touch doing something relatively stupid. Fortnite was slapped together in literally 2 months in an existing engine by a massive company that quite literally cannibalized its other games in order to make that happen. PUBG was built primarily by a studio that was as far removed from Western markets as humanly possible and released by a company that didn't quite know the sea they were wading out into. The thing all of these games have in common is that at some point, and maybe for their entire life, these games have been supported by developers that have behaved or genuinely been completely out of touch with their own communities. Spellbreak is created by an independent studio. A studio that has spent years watching and understanding the ups and downs of the genre and learning from the mistakes these bigger games have made. Proletariat Games have made a name creating games for streamers and around streamers. They're also reachable. The company's social outreach is incredible. They are constantly responding to fans. They're open about what needs to be fixed, what's changing, and why, and are as transparent as I've ever seen a company be this early in a game's life. They know that their game is nothing but a loyal community, and they are dead set on building that community through whatever means necessary. If you're scared of hopping into Spellbreak once it finally comes out of pre-alpha because you've never heard of the devs and are worried about the game being abandoned, be at the very least less worried. Spellbreak is in very capable hands as of right now. When there's an update, they're there to explain it. When something needs fixing, they're there to talk about it. They're not out of touch, and they're certainly not out of your reach. You will always understand, or at least so far understand, what is happening with Spellbreak. But I think Spellbreak's most interesting reality is one that affects all Battle Royale games, and the medium in general.
Everybody, 32 teams in play. That means 4 wins is going to get you in the final match, with that 5th win getting you the 50K that everyone's chasing.
Competition matters. Part of the reason that Fortnite has grown the way it has from a gameplay perspective is because it has PUBG breathing down its back. The reason Blackout exists is because Call of Duty had Fortnite breathing down its back. Spellbreak, however, has neither. One of the things that makes Spellbreak unique is that it's going to continue to force its competition to evolve. For example, Spellbreak's classes give your gauntlet both a primary and secondary skill. One might be a spray-like spell, like you would have gotten out of a frost spell in Skyrim, and the other might be a damn wall of fire, a defensive element. These aren't things you have to uncover randomly, you choose them. Thus, with that being said, it begs the question of whether or not this is the right way to handle Battle Royale in an esports setting. Games like Spellbreak push the medium forward. They challenge the traditional beliefs of these genres, and they make things more interesting. And in the genre that's trying to break into esports, Spellbreak might have cracked the code. If this is a fairer way to do things, it will force other games, should Spellbreak do well, to rethink how it approaches the randomness in competitive settings. The point is that games like Spellbreak are good for the entire genre, and at the very least, even if you have no interest in what you see here, we should be rooting for more projects like this from independent developers. Look, Spellbreak is still in alpha. Actually, it's technically pre-alpha. It's so alpha that you aren't even allowed to post your own gameplay clips or stream the build of the game that's available as of the time of this writing. Everything you've seen here are gameplay clips that the developers themselves curated from the pre-alpha build. But this is absolutely a game that you should be paying attention to. It's different. It's got a developer who cares, and it takes every complaint players have had about its competition and does its best to start to solve those problems or work around them. None of us know what the final product of Spellbreak will be, and I almost never cover games this early in their life cycle for that very reason. But Spellbreak has the potential that very few games have. This is a game that is incredibly watchable. A game that adds a level of approachable skill to a genre that desperately needs a level playing field that doesn't involve the question of do you or do you not like building. And most importantly, Spellbreak is focused on fun that achieves it in its own ways. It's not trying to be Fortnite, it's not trying to be PUBG, it's not trying to be Blackout. It's unabashedly itself in every way imaginable. So if you're getting fatigued on the Battle Royale genre, if you're looking for something new, keep your eyes on Spellbreak in 2019. It just might be the spark you've been looking for.
Well guys, that is it for today's video, and I think more importantly for me than ever, the start of a dialogue. I want to know what you guys think about all of this in general. I want to know, do you have any interest in something like Spellbreak at all? Are you interested in what you saw here? Are you interested in Battle Royale at all anymore in the first place? Have you fatigued on Battle Royale? Are you still playing Fortnite? Are you still playing PUBG? Let me know the answers to any of those questions down in the comments below. I am genuinely curious, especially with something that's so even far from release like Spellbreak. By the time this game comes out, do you even think you'll have an interest at all? Let me know the answers to any of those questions down in the comments below. Let's have a real conversation. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, hit that like button. If you're not yet a member of this team, press subscribe. I put out gaming analysis and examinations just like this one twice, sometimes 3 times a week. So subscribe so you do not miss any of those. As always, my Twitter handle will be in the top pinned comment down below. You can follow me there to get an idea of what games I'm playing, participate in polls so that I know what games you guys want to see come to the channel next, and more importantly, just talk about things that aren't games. Sometimes chat about film or the holidays or whatever it is. So follow me on the Twitter handle down below in that pinned comments. As always, at the end of this video, I give a really quick update. A really quick update here is next week, we will be taking a look at a series of PS2 games that technically carried over into the Xbox 360 generation that I'm really, really excited about. My fiance got me a PS2, and it's allowing me to capture a bunch of gameplay from that so I can finally start to do things that are a little bit, I don't know, older, I guess. Talk about things that, you know, maybe people have forgotten about. So be on the lookout for that. And until then, or until next time, guys, I'm out.